The Storm Sorcerer pairs very nicely with a Tempest Cleric. But what happens if you just want to be a Storm Sorcerer? Well, this is my Pure Storm Sorcerer guide, levels 1 to 12, with a combat tutorial as well as a bunch of items, and I've banged out so many guides I can't remember what I'm doing these days, but let's get going. And of course we start with Sorcerer level 1. And for your cantrips, we're going to take Bone Chill, so prevent the target from healing, and they receive disadvantage on their attack rolls. We're going to take Shocking Grasp, so melee based damage dealing spell with lightning, Rare Frost, frost based damage, and Light, because this comes in very handy, especially early levels. And for your first level spells, we're going to take Shield, basically throw it up as a reaction and increase your arm plus by 5, and Magic Missile, a great spell from level 1 all the way through to level 12. And Storm Sorcery, where the crackling with the energy of ancient Deldews or pierced by gales and hurricanes, your lineage is a strange tapestry scrawled by a tempest. This gives us Tempurous magic. After you cast a level 1 spell or higher, you can fly as a bonus action until the end of your turn without receiving opportunity attacks, and this is why it pairs really nicely with a Tempest Cleric. Almost think of it like a Thor build almost, but it is also very viable as just a pure Sorcerer build. Okay, for your ability scores, we're going to have 8 Strength, 14 Dexterity, 16 Constitution, 10 Intelligence, 10 Wisdom, and 16 Charisma. For your proficiencies, take whatever you feel like. And this brings us very nicely to Sorcerer level 2 with our sorcery points. Now, for a spell here, we're going to take Mage Armor. This helps us buff our protection. Instantly, our armor class becomes 13 plus our dexterity modifier, which puts us at 15, because the 14 you see gives us a plus 2, so 15 overall. And for spell meta magics, we're going to take Distance Spell, increase the range of spells by 50%. This basically allows us to stay out of danger for longer. And Twin Spell. This essentially allows us to target 2 people with a 1-person targeted spell. Okay, Sorcerer level 3, we have access to even more spells, and we're going to take the Witch Bolt. Link yourself to a target with a bolt of lightning, do an additional 1 to 12 lightning damage each turn by activating it. Now higher up into the game, not as helpful, but for now, not too bad of a spell to take. And we're going to take Quickened Spell as our meta magic. Spells that cost an action, cost a bonus action instead. Okay, Sorcerer level 4, this gives us access to a feat, as well as more sorcery points, as well as another cantrip. So, we can take Mage Hand at this point. And for a spell here, we're going to take Mirror Image to buff up our AC even further. And we're going to bump our Charisma with our ASI up to 18. Okay, Sorcerer level 5 is where we get a bit of a power spike in terms of lightning-based damage. And we're going to take Lightning Bolt. Call forth a blast of lightning that hits all creatures in the line of eruption. Really nice 3rd level spell to have. Sorcerer level 6. Now we have Heart of the Storm. When you cast a spell of level 1 or higher that deals lightning or thunder damage, you cause a small local storm. All enemies within 6 meters take 3 lightning or 3 thunder damage. Really nice way of just dealing a little bit of extra damage on top. We also have Heart of the Storm resistance, so we're now resistant to lightning and thunder damage. And we have a bunch more spells we can choose from. Create or Destroy Water being amazing for this build. Now, for your spell here, we're going to take Hold Person. It might not be the most helpful for you, but it does have a lot of utility if you don't want to pump out a bunch of spells in one fight. Sorcerer level 7, 1 more sorcery point, as well as a bunch more spells. And we're going to start with Ice Storm. 6 to 40 damage. Impale enemies from the sky. It does bludgeoning and cold damage, and it's phenomenal. Okay, Sorcerer level 8, access to a new feat and a sorcery point. And for a spell here, you can honestly kind of take anything you feel like. Counterspell's good if you want to use up the spell slots for that. Hypnotic Pattern's really good. Enlarge or Reduce is really good. Enhance Ability. Honestly, kind of take whatever you feel like. I'm going to take Ice Knife. Low level, damage dealing spell. And for your ASI, we're going to bump our Charisma up to 20. Sorcerer level 9, more sorcery points, as well as access to level 5 spell slots. And of course, we're going to take Cone of Cold. 8 to 64 damage, make a flurry of frost, crisp air, and condensed snow crystals erupt from your hands. Sorcerer level 10, access to level 5 spell slot, and more sorcery points. Before that, 1 more cantrip, and for this one, I would take a Dancing Lights. And again, for this spell, you can kind of take anything you want. Telekinesis is fun, Hold Monster is fun. There's not really anything that benefits this build too intentionally, I don't think. So for us, let's take Hold Monster. And for our meta magic, we're going to take Subtle Spell. So you can cast spells while silenced, because there are a few enemies that will try and silence you. Alright, Sorcerer level 11, level 6 spell slots unlocked, a sorcery point available, and Storm's Fury. When you're hit by a melee attack, you do 11 lightning damage to the attacker and potentially push them away. It's phenomenal. This is almost like some of the cloaks you can get that do like fire damage to someone that hits you, but buffed to the max. Obviously, the spell for here is Chain Lightning. Strike an enemy with Lightning Bolt. 3 more bolts will leap from the target, electrifying as many as 3 other enemies within 18 meters. And finally, level 12, a new feat available, as well as another sorcery point. So for our spell, honestly, take anything. I would avoid anything up here though, because you only have access to 1 level 6 spell slot, and I think you should save it for Chain Lightning as much as possible. So come in here and hate something like a Daylight, a Polymorph, Stone Skin, something that's probably not concentration honestly, that you could just throw up if you need to, low level, and try and save some higher level spell slots. And for your feat, we're going to come all the way down here, and we're going to take Elemental Adapt. Your spells and attacks ignore resistance to a damage type of your choice, and we're going to take Lightning. This also means that when we deal lightning damage, with a spell we cannot roll a 1. Really nice way of just slightly, if possibly, increasing our damage output. Okay, so when it comes to items, we're going to start with the obvious one, and when it comes to robes, ideally for a sorcerer, you're always going to want to wear the Potent robes. Act 2 piece of gear you get from a certain quest line. Now, depending on your playthrough, you might not be able to have access to it, honestly. So I'm going to do this one, where you should have access to it regardless. But the Potent robes, if you can use it, are amazing for a sorcerer. You get cantrips dealing additional damage based on your charisma modifier, which for us is +6. At the beginning of our turn, the robe will activate and grant us temporary hit points equal to our charisma modifier, again being +6, and a +1 to armor class. Amazing robes to use for a sorcerer. However, if you don't have access to it, we're going to take Robe of the Weave. +1 bonus to spell save DC and spell attack rolls. Whenever we succeed a saving throw against a spell, we regain 1 to 6 hit points and +2 to armor class. Now for a hat, we have to take Birthright. Charisma +2 up to 22 gives us basically a higher than usual ASI. The Cloak of Displacement, so when this activates at the beginning of our turn, enemies have disadvantage on attack rolls against us. We've got the Space Hunt Boots, Dimension Door, so I like this because it gives us access to maneuver ourselves and an ally around the battlefield. Quick Spell Gloves, so we can trigger this, or toggle this I should say, on and off, and essentially we can use a cantrip as a bonus action instead of a regular action. However, it is once per short rest. For a ring, I like the Snowburst Ring, so when the weary deals cold damage, it also creates a 4.5 circle of ice around the target. A nice way of throwing this against a melee character, and then hopefully they'll walk through it and slip on the ice. The Spellcrux Amulet, spell slot restoration, says exactly what it does. Use a level 6 spell slot, restore it. And the same can be said about the best staff in the game, Marker Share. So, +1 bonus to spell save DC and spell attack rolls. Arcane Battery, so that our next spell is free, which means we could do another 6th level spell slot. So essentially you can go from 1 6th level spell slot all the way to 3 between our usual one, our spell slot restoration with our Spellcrux Amulet, and then through Marker Share. Really nice way of pumping out huge damage. So they are our items. Let's go find some combat and test this all out. Okay, now as soon as you leave camp, the first thing you're going to want to do is Mage Armor, and then buff our AC up. So now our AC should be a solid 17. And you can see we have Tempurous Magic Flight, which means if we were in combat we could fly around. We don't really need to use that though at the moment. Okay, now when doing this build, as you can see we are in the combat. To maximise your damage, there are a few ways to set this up. First things first, we want to use a quickened spell. So come into your here, and you're going to find your quickened spell, and we're going to create or destroy water. This will maximise our damage output for our lightning spells. So create or destroy water. We're going to create water, and now unfortunately I'm not going to play safe. Obviously place this more tactically. I'm just going to place it down for demonstration, and as you see, everyone here is now wet. And then what we can do is, thanks to our staff Marker Share, turn on Arcane Battery, and you'll notice that we have some orange spells now. This basically means it's a free spell slot. And from here, we are going to do a Chain Lightning. And we will target the Barbarian here. As you see, he has the wet status, as does he. And we're going to pump out some lightning damage. And as you can see, we have absolutely melted 2 of the enemies. Absolutely melted them. What does the combat log say? Where did we do all our damage? I don't even... Here we go. 58 damage onto them. We did 104 damage onto that enemy. We did 80 damage onto the Barbarian. A huge amount of damage pumped out. And as you can see, we also targeted them with a huge 64. And what's really cool is we can come in here with the quick spell gloves if we wanted to. And next round we have another free spell slot, which is essentially just a cantrip, but still is free. But that is what makes the Storm Sorcerer so powerful, especially if you ignore resistances. You can pump out a huge amount of damage. It's incredible. We've also completely electrified the floor for now. And we can protect ourselves with a lovely shield, just like that. And you can see, completely protected. And we're going to test out how basic damage we can do. So let's climb up here and we're just going to do a simple Shocking Grasp on this character. Come in here. And they get a huge 24 damage with a simple cantrip. And thanks to that, we still have our movement speed, so we can come up here, ready for our next round.
On my way.
And that is how easy that fight was. Now you'll see if we come in here, we only used 3 sorcery points and 3 level 1 spell slots, and we did the most damage taking out most of the enemies. If you can use your sorcery points to create water and then throw down a huge lightning attack with a free spell slot, you're going to wipe out half the battlefield before you've even done anything. And that is why the Storm Sorcerer is probably, in my opinion, my favourite sorcerer to play, because you can pump out the damage, you can make sure the enemies ignore the resistance to it if they have it, and you can really just melt enemies and shock and just destroy them in their own steps. And we did most of that fight, apart from the end, without even using our other characters. So that fight could have been over in like 1 or 2 rounds if we would have used the other characters. But I wanted to show off the Storm Sorcerer. We didn't even get to try out our twin spells where we could do a double Shocking Grasp, so go and check out the Wild Magic build I've done to see more of that. But bear in mind, we did short rest, we still have our Mage Armor available, and we can come in here with our Spell Slot Restoration if need be, and we could restore a level 6 spell slot if we wanted to. We didn't use it thanks to marker share, but that would be an option. So in my opinion, you can probably get 3 battles in before you'd need to long rest to restore your spell slots. So if you have enjoyed, please drop this a like, helps me amazingly. If you're new and not subscribed, you'd like to, that'd also be amazing. Let me know in the comments below what new items you'd use, what party combos you'd use, what different spells you'd use, all that fun stuff. And hopefully, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye guys.